Hey, I'm Doug, and today we are checking out the Lincoln Brewster Stratocaster. In my opinion, the most versatile Strat on the market today. All right, in this video, we're going to play our way through the feature set. You're also going to get a chance to hear from Lincoln, as well as Stan Cody and Joey Brasler from Fender, as they walk through the evolution of this instrument. Before we cut over to Lincoln, I want to tell you about the show notes down below there. If you have to jet before we come back and talk a little bit more about them, you're definitely going to want to check those out. But in the meantime, let's cut over to Lincoln as he talks about the first guitar in the lineage of this instrument.
I met this guy and he said, "Hey, you play guitar?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I got this guitar. It's sitting in front of my fireplace and I just want to know, I'm moving out of town. Do you want it?" And I went over and it was a Stratocaster. It was a black Strat. And I didn't own a Strat at the time. And I got that guitar and it wasn't even like a great Strat really on paper, but there was something special about it. And that was my main guitar for years. I ended up putting a different neck on it. And that guitar really is what started this guitar.
So this demo is kind of like a mashup between Money for Nothing and Tush. Two of my favorite guitar parts and tones, and I kind of wrap them together to come up with the vibe that I'm doing on this one. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how I'm going to craft that tone from the ground up using the feature set. I'm going to start off in the number 2 pickup selection, basically like a completely stock Strat. Then I'm going to engage the 10 dB of boost that's on the volume control. Then in turn, I'm going to add the mid-range boost that's controlled via this control, but only works when the guitar is in boost mode. Then I'm going to take the tone control and back it off by about 50%. Now, also important to know is this tone control only controls the bridge pickup, which means it only works in the number 1, or in this case, the number 2 pickup selection. Let's take a listen.
I'm Stan Cody, and my title is Vice President of Product Innovation. And what that really means is I work on technology on the product side of the business. I do a lot of product design and development, and mostly I'm involved on the electronics end of our business, but sometimes that crosses over into guitars.
And my name is Joey Brasler. I'm Vice President of Product Development, Electric Guitars and Basses. I'm in charge of products made in Corona, Mexico, and Japan.
So I was in a music store in Folsom. I don't even remember why I was in there. And I saw this Aztec Gold 50 Strat sitting in the back room, kind of barely within view. And I just said, "Hey, whose guitar is that?" And they said, "Oh, it's this guy. He wants to sell it." And I was like, "Awesome! Let me check it out." I played. I was like, "I'll take it." And for whatever reason, on the All To You Live album, I put the virtual vintages in that guitar, set it up the same way. I ended up playing that guitar for that album for some reason. I don't remember why. And then that became my main Strat. I just absolutely loved it.
So it's time for a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, if you haven't already subscribed to the Worship Musician channel, we'd love to invite you to do so. Also, please ring the bell so we can give you notifications when videos like this one go online. All right, down below in the show notes, some very cool links. First of all, you can find out more about this guitar. You can check out our Amazon influencers link in case you want to pick one up, or perhaps you'd like to sign up for the Lincoln Brewster Stratocaster giveaway. That's right, we've partnered with our friends at Fender to give away one of these guitars, which means on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2019, somebody is going to have a very Merry Christmas. Also, we've partnered with our friends at Integrity Music to give away some copies of Lincoln's latest album, A Mostly Acoustic Christmas. Links below. All right, this guitar, kind of the heart and the soul, are the DiMarzio virtual vintage pickups. In the bridge, we've got an area 61, and in the middle and neck positions, you've got area 58 noiseless pickups.
Lincoln likes those pickups, and he came to us and said, I want these pickups to be kind of the basis of the electronics. So we designed the electronics entirely with that set of pickups in mind. And where the peak of the mid-range boost occurs, it's where it is because of those pickups in that guitar, and also because of how Lincoln hears things and the amps and stuff he uses. So the way the boost started, initially I was doing it, if I design a distortion pedal or something, I always start from a blank slate just because it's more fun that way. And I think the world has enough tube screamers or whatever. So I always try to start from something new and bring something new to the party. Having said that, when I first started to do this, to me, when you say, well, what's a boost in a Strat? Well, it's the Clapton circuit, or it's a Tyler boost, or it's a whatever, all these things that have been around for a long time. And those are more, they have a mid-range peak, and it's at some frequency, and you can dial it in. So that's where I started with Lincoln, just designing a quick mid-peak circuit. I think when most people use the Clapton boost, the thing they're trying to do is to get the single coil pickups sound more like a humbucker. So they're trying to provide more girth or width to it. Lincoln wasn't hearing it that way. Lincoln wanted it to be more singy and sustainy and more like a lyrical solo kind of voice. And so he wanted the peak to be tuned a lot higher. It's like twice as high, basically an octave up from where the Clapton boost is, which makes it not quite like a cocked wah, but it's a little more vocal sounding. So iterating across that, I started off with initially just a peak only, and so the guitar is flat and normal when the knob's off, and then as you dial it in, you get this kind of mid peak. He eventually came around going, you know what, I kind of like the idea of having the boost be able to be flat too. And I'm like, okay, well, we could talk about an extra switch or whatever. It ended up where he suggested, totally his idea, what if we made the boost where with knobs on 0, and you pull the boost on, you get a flat boost. And then as you crank the knob on, then you get an additional mid peak. And I'm like, we can do that.
These are locking vintage style tuning pegs. So the aesthetic of the guitar was important. I wanted it to look like an old vintage Strat. So these lock. This is a 2-post floating bridge. And the 2-post is hopefully self-explanatory. It's just the less contact points, the less friction, and the less you have to have a line. But I still wanted as close to that vintage sound as possible, so we went with the bent steel saddles. They still look, all the same.
Joey, one of the things that Lincoln told me was that you said that this guitar does things that no Strat should do. I know what that means to me, but I'd love to know what that means to you.
A lot of that has to do with Stan's electronics, in my opinion, because in sort of playing the guitar throughout its development, and as Stan was making changes to the electronics, and where he finally got, when you plug it in and you play, first of all, the way it feels, we'll talk about that a little bit in a second, but really, with regard to the width, the expansiveness of the tone possibilities with the electronics, and how you can create colors with the guitar instantly. And once you know the controllers a bit, you can go exactly where you want, and you can create peaks and colors and do all kinds of things that you can't do. I mean, Fender guitars in general, you can make lots of colors anytime you want them, but this guitar is just absolutely extra special.
Link, one of the things that you and I talked about in our numerous conversations was using the truss rod to make adjustments to your action rather than the bridge or the springs. Can you talk about that?
So if you know anything about old Strats, if you want to adjust truss rods, you have to take the neck off. And so, or some guys did that, cut in the pick guard to get to it. So this has a nice adjustment right up here in the headstock. There's a little It just looks like the standard kind of rosewood piece in there, but there's just a hole in it. Again, I use it all the time. So the trick is you touch the 17th fret with your index finger and then touch the 7th fret. And when you look at the string, if you just go like this, I know this seems crazy, but your fingers can sense very small changes. So it's supposed to be about half the width of a credit card is about how I like it. So if that's off, you can make an adjustment to the truss rod and it fixes it. And it's scary how much, I mean, I never adjust. Once these saddles are set and that's correct, you shouldn't be monkeying with them. Or if your action feels different day to day, don't adjust the bridge because you're changing the angle of the strings as they lay on the neck. So I used to do this all the time. My guitar would, I'd get it set up and then it would never feel the same. It's so consistent using the truss rod. That was a big feature for me. Little thing, the cutaway heels, just a little more comfortable as you go up. We even went as far as to, you can see on mine, I use a piece of tape. I don't usually play with a back plate, even though the guitar comes with one. But we hid the battery. Like you thought it didn't have a battery. Remember that?
Yep.
You're like, I love it doesn't have a battery. So the battery is literally routed into the back of the guitar.
That's crafty.
So I usually leave my back plates off. So we just stuck a piece of tape on here in case we need to get to it quick. But this battery honestly will last a couple of years. So, you don't really even need to do that. But again, it was all about making sure it still had all that old aesthetic to it. Lightweight ash body. So, quarter sawn maple neck. Some of the newer guitars don't have quarter sawn necks, which is a little bizarre to me, but when you cut them quarter sawn, they're much more stable than if not. So, but all these things, Joey was like, congratulations, you're going to have the most expensive signature model of all time. But hey, it's still $1,900. I mean, it's a full-on custom shop featured guitar that is killer for sub $2,000. I mean, it's tough to beat.
One of the really neat things about this guitar is there's a bunch of people that were not already familiar with Lincoln's playing. They're going to get a chance to hear what he does. What's also cool is Lincoln is the first worship leader / worship guitar player to have a signature Fender Strat. Joey and Stan, would you care to tell us a little bit what that means to you?
It was really fun working with somebody that I've known for, 30 years or something almost. So, yeah.
It was very satisfying and joyous to be able to work with an old friend on something so magical for him. And the payoff is huge. We love him, and I have a lot of gratitude to be able to go online and see him playing the guitar that we helped him get, and see him have so much fun and make such great music with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
On behalf of everyone at Worship Musician Magazine, thanks for checking out this video, and don't forget to check out the show links. Thanks again. Cheers.